I would now like to introduce our next session, something which again on the OTT side everybody has been waiting for, that is leveraging the advertising potential of regional OTT and CTV platforms. And for the panel, we have some really interesting panelists. For that, I would like to first of all invite our moderator, Ms. Deepali Naair, the Director, Bengaluru Digital Sales Center and Digital Sales Center Growth, JAPAC, IBM. Welcome, ma'am. Can we have a round of applause, please? Thank you. For panelists, we have Mr. Nitin Burman, VP and Head, Non-Subscription Revenue, Arha Media. Mr. Salil Kumar, CEO, TV Today. Mr. Saurabh Singhania, CEO, HexaWebony. And Mr. Ritesh Singh, co-founder and MD, ARM Worldwide. Can we have a round of applause for all the speakers? Over to you, Deepali, ma'am.
Thank you. So, for the audience, I want to say this, that I think we've been having, because of the panel getting later than when it was scheduled, I think we've been doing 2 hours of panel discussion already in the speaker's lounge, on the topic. So hopefully, but I want you also to feel free to ask questions. I will definitely do that session after the panel discussion and the initial comments that I have, from the panelists over here. I think what is very interesting for me is that this panel's been put together by IAMAI, and we truly have people from very diverse backgrounds and what they're doing. And it's a new space. When you look at the whole regional OTT and CTV space, it's extremely new. So I think I want to start with Salil, you. And I want you to paint a picture for all of us to say, okay, in the last 5 years, how has the space developed? I mean, we all, depending on which business we are in, whether we are a marketer or whether we are inside an agency, we hear very different things about it's growing, what part of it is growing, where are the numbers, how do you kind of, take advantage of the opportunity that exists, and the Indian audiences are changing. But I want you to paint a picture to say, okay, what has changed in the last 5 years?
Okay, I think if you talk about last 5 years, you've got COVID that came in, and I think that was a paradigm shift right across in terms of all our content consumption patterns. I mean, if you look at, you had personal viewing growing, mobile obviously grew. People wanted content that came in from various OTTs available across on mobile. That's when we saw a huge spike also in, say, smart TVs or connected TVs to take off. It also includes connected devices like a Fire TV Stick or a Chromecast. I mean, any of those that did very well, those are the ones. As far as today, if you look at it, it's about 10 million is what they're saying is active smart TV sets that are running. There's another report that's calling it about 15. And I'm saying they're expecting it by 25. So you're sitting in 23. So by end of 25, you're expecting about 40 million active sets. Now, these are guys which are again cord cutters. There was a Samsung report that I was reading. It said 90% of the people opt for at least 4 OTTs on the day the TV is installed. So technically, you can imagine the consumption. And smart TVs is also co-viewing. Group M's and various other agencies have said, if you take it, they take it as 2.5 people viewing. So it's like a shared viewing environment. So that's the number you're going to reach. How does that shift? How does that make a shift for advertisers? You mentioned advertisers or marketeers. I think it gives you a great opportunity of not doing a carpet bombing. It gives you an opportunity of really a narrow cast where you basically are going to be able to target audience, whether it's content, because it's a fixed TV, so your IP is pretty much fixed for the household that you are in. So you'll have all those great opportunities to advertise. And we'll see how the markets grow, because this particular consumer, in my view, is going to be somebody who's going to be disconnected from a lot of other stuff.
Yes.
So your only way to connect to them would be, and we call like, I mean, everybody's been using this term cord cutter. So when you want to hit the cord cutter, you will have to actually go through one of the OTTs or be available on OTTs for your content to be visible.
Yeah. Interesting that you say that, and I do think that 2023 will be a very different year in terms of what we've experienced previously. And I don't know whether we'll be able to future gaze or not. But I wanted to bring this discussion to Ritesh. Before we go look into the future, I still want to dwell at the past. Ritesh, you and I were discussing, saying, okay, why did these shifts happen? So Salil told us, what are the shifts that has happened? What changed? Apart from COVID that we kind of, either give credit to or blame everything for, what were the shifts that were happening, for this change?
See, the biggest part of the story has been smartphone penetration, right? That's had changed the world. 1.42 billion population, 1.2 billion phone users in India, out of which 800 million are smartphone users. And we know 800 million means that we have reached to tier 3, tier 4, R1, R2, we've reached everywhere. So content consumption on smartphone is the largest, and obviously future is connected TVs. And then there is influx of content, and obviously propeller was COVID, where people had enough time and they were consuming more and more content, all possible genres. With smartphone growing and content growing, and that too in regional languages, things worked. And people had time and people had the source. So that brought a bigger change. And then our youth. India is one of the youngest countries in the world. Youth has now power of content.
Yes.
Now these guys are consuming whatever they want. They're upskilling themselves apart from entertainment. And you have seen so many things happening from hinterland of India, which is great content coming in, great businesses coming in. Those guys are now getting international knowledge, learning, they are upskilling themselves to bring new things out in the world.
Yeah. In fact, I've been going through some work that's being done on Gen Z and skilling up, interest in financial investments, apart from entertainment. All these areas are, very different that you're seeing in this new generation. Nitin, you of course, are part of a regional OTT channel, and therefore you interact with the agency, media planners, brands, and have a very different conversation. But what I want you to comment on is that how has all this added complexity, to media planning or even planning creatives for the brands to reach customers, What categories have got impacted? What kind of brands or, what new opportunities exist for the clients?
Okay, so I'll start with, the whole regional OTT trend, why it came into existence. Because in India, as you said, that 1.42 billion population, we are actually like many European countries within this country.
Yes.
Right? And when it comes to South, everybody up north sees them as one market, whereas there are 4 different markets. So when all these people, national OTTs like Sony Live, Prime, Hotstar, when they were launching content for South, it used to be any language, be it Malayalam, Kannada, Tamil or Telugu, and they used to launch it and it used to be tick mark for all 4 languages. So when we came into existence, we thought that Telugu audience itself is deprived of content. In a year, they are only getting 3 to 4 pieces in their own native language. So do we have the potential to launch an OTT over there? It's a great place. It's bigger than any European country Telugu-speaking audience today. And we launched one language 3 years back. We've got tremendous response. We have not just reached out to people in Hyderabad, where the top 8 markets which are being targeted by all national OTTs. We have actually gone down to the tier 2, tier 3 towns of AP Telangana, which are like Guntur, Vizag and all other towns where advertisers today want to reach out to. So that's where we bring in an edge when it comes to advertisers. And today, because people have become so content friendly, even advertisers are becoming innovative. So, they just don't want to show ads which are coming right in the middle of a program which people want to skip. Like when you watch a YouTube video, you wait for that 5-second skip ad button to come and you just want to skip it. So what advertisers today are doing with us is they are becoming part of the stories. They're actually coming to us and telling us what is your script which you're developing 6 months down the line, and we want to be part of your story. So for example, if I had a show where a Freedom Oil kind of a brand wanted to be part of the story, and if there is any cooking scene, it has to be that oil which is being used. So it leaves you an impression because you're so engrossed in watching that whole web series. You actually, back of the mind, you somewhere remember that this oil was being used in your favorite show. So that's the change which has happened. Even the advertisers today are becoming innovative along with us, while we're doing the content. So that's something which has happened. Second, of course, if today, as Ritesh said, that potential or the buyers are not just in the top metros. Today, money is there everywhere in India. So brands want to reach out to tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 towns of this country. So, and when that kind of engagement they're reaching out to us as a regional OTT who is providing content every Friday to them and keeping them engaged with our content. So that's the thing which has changed.
Yeah. I think what has also changed is I remember, still circa 2003-04, I used to head Saffola, Medicare, Swikar, and I would look at media plans that would come in a simple Excel sheet, and it was easy to follow, and you could actually make choices to them, down to now. Amount of choices available, and I'm not sure how the media plans, get constructed. So, when I was asking, I was saying, okay, how has the complexity, increased? Has it become simple? But we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that question. Saurabh, you and I were also discussing, I think, something similar, which was, the creatives have to have a very different approach, today, thanks to the opportunities available also for integration. It's not really one thing which is available to all. But apart from that, what else can be done?
Basically, if you look at it from a supplier's perspective, right, when we buy inventory for our clients, we are looking at from an OTT perspective, and I'll talk about one particular sector, which is gaming, right? In gaming, what we see is Rummy has a different kind of an audience and poker has a different kind of an audience, right? Rummy is played more by people who are, let's say, in blue-collar jobs. I'm not saying that tier 1 people
that's
don't play
okay.
Rummy,
That's
but
okay.
yeah, but that is where more consumption of Rummy takes place, and poker is the other way that poker goes. So what we've seen there is that, and specifically with brands who are in the business of Rummy and poker both, they are looking to target specifically few states, their probably top tier TGs are the southern states where the consumption of Rummy is more. So their regional content and regional, OTTs play a large impact because that is where they want to reach out to that particular audience, right? And as far as poker is concerned, it's more related to, the tier 1 kind of OTTs that you can reach out to for playing poker. So that is one thing that I see as far as, how do we reach out to the right audience for the right brand and with the right objective is where we see how can we kind of reach out to that particular audience.
I think what's interesting today is that once you do a persona of a client for a brand, at least both the agency and the marketer is able to do it, I remember in the good old days when we would do the medical, and I'm purposely bringing the older examples here, we would do the Medicare brand planning, and all we knew was that there is greater infestation of lice in children's heads in West Bengal, Andhra and Haryana. This is correct data, by the way, okay, from those days. I don't know why these 3 states, but that was the case, right? But I think today you're able to cut across cross-section, you're able to cut across geography. I think you're able to look at interest categories and do personas. So I think that's a very, very different space that has come in terms of doing it. I think you were also telling me about how some of your clients are doing creatives which are specific to, I think, languages and context.
Yes, so again, in the specific, again to gaming, right? Every gaming advertiser is kind of now reaching out to that particular audience in that particular language. So actually, when it comes to creative, there's a lot of work that is happening for one particular brand because every state requires different kind of communication. And it's not that the same communication you just translate and kind of you put it out in the same way across states and it works. So therefore, meticulous planning goes into, what kind of communication has to go out in which state and what attracts that particular user. Because end of the day, all of these brands are looking at customer acquisition. That is their objective, right? And same communication can't go out. It's not a copy-paste job that you just translate everything and then, give it out in Bengali or the other southern languages and it works. So it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, thank you. The another area that always fascinates me these days, and I think this is a hangover from the podcast that I run with the CEOs also, which is that decisions that you take today inside an organization actually come to fructification 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months from now. Investment into technology, investment into how you will sell, investment into what kind of content, investment into whether you will do content syndication or not that we were discussing, right? All that will, happen into future. I think India today, Salil, for example, according to me, has evolved very interestingly over the last few years. I still revere the magazine, and I remember, and it was only a magazine when I was at school, and we used to read it, in those days. I think it's a media and a content house today. That's how I, think of, India today. And while we're discussing advertising and media planning and, how do brands utilize this opportunity, I also want to talk about the fact that how do you future gaze? How do you take some of the content decisions that you take, or what are the frameworks to look at to say, okay, this technology or this format, will work. Some will pan out, some will not. I mean, we all understand, but what's the framework? How do you do that?
It'll take another couple of days if I go into all the details, but let's try and work out and give 1 or 2 examples. For example, think about it, 18 months or so back, we were talking, and this is around COVID time, again, everybody on their Zoom calls and saying, a lot of consumption is happening on connected TV. And then who are your viewers? The viewers are still the millennials. Like, I know that my parents still preferred to use the Tata Sky versus they were not comfortable going to a Google Play Store, looking at the app and downloading it. So they were still hooked on there. And this younger audience that was watching us on smart TVs were obviously very different. So we have actually curated something called the connected TV device feed. It's the news of that, the news component is pretty much the same, which is coming out of the studio. The only thing is what we've done is that we're not giving them a normal ad break that TV will usually give. So for live TV streaming, if you're going to watch it on connected devices, it is going to be all of the same content and more. Because that, plus factor, then what are the resolutions in which you can give? Because everybody is now working on broadband. He was talking about mobile. I mean, 5G is on the verge. We were all talking about it. So what you're recording, how you're pushing that content, it was about 18 months back. We put the systems in place. We had to have the teams in place to give content which was relevant for the day. So, in live TV, I can't give a 4-day-old piece of content. Then you looked at other smart ways of saying, okay, what are the categories that will work? Could be information related. For example, an EQI weather report. Maybe it doesn't run on TV, but on the digital connected stream, you'll have an EQI, and that can again get an opportunity of getting sponsored by somebody who's got an EQI product, or gold pricing, or opening of the stock. And these are opportunities which you could do, and you converted that extended ad period to shorter ad periods with infotainment, information, and actually an ad. And you had the viewer stay on much longer. We did a lot of research, and again we played that. Then come to content. When it's India Today, I mean, you got the print magazine, still one of the largest in the country. You have the TV channel, you have their digital websites. So, and the social media. Now, social media is also very, very critical. So there is, and when the conversation happens, the editors are looking at it into all the various angles and saying, okay, TV is going to do this. Socially, we'll use this as an amplification. Digital will give you more detail and maybe behind the scenes for a particular thing. Sometimes, if the story is interesting, you may think of a completely new, different template and a format and say, how can I cover something like this? And you'll come out more innovatively there. So it does take, yes, sometimes it takes times, but when it's breaking, then trust me, all are saying, let's go out and give the latest and the fastest.
Lovely. Nitin, same question to you, but you know, you're a very different organization compared to India today. You're a regional OTT channel, but you also have to spot opportunities, both in terms of content as well as in terms of formats or in terms of technology, right? So how do you do this? How do you say that, look, this is what's going to work in future?
I think I'll start with, there's a very famous line which is called as change is the only constant, right? And for us, we've been adapting. When we started off, we thought to launch our OTT, we need some big ticket movies to come in. We got Crack, which is Ravi Teja's movie, and it became a massive hit on our platform. But then, was it a strategy that we could have, banged upon? No, because players like Amazon Prime, Netflix, Hotstar, they have deep pockets. We are a regional OTT promoter-driven organization who do not have such deep pockets. They buy one Liger movie for 100 crores, and our annual budget for content will be 100 crores. So then we thought, what is it that we'll still be able to, keep the Telugu audience hooked onto my OTT? So the stories is what differentiates everything. Today, a Drishyam in Malayalam is hit in Hindi as well because of the story, right? So same goes with our OTT. When we are looking at stories, we are looking at the main heartland stories. We are picking up stories from interiors of AP Telangana, making them into original movies, making them into web series, and giving it out to the audiences. And these audiences are then able to relate to those stories because it has happened in their own town, it has happened in their own states. So we are now, in fact, our next strategy is that we need to bring out stories which are from AP Telangana, but will also be, popular among the national audience. So with Applause Entertainment, we are now launching our first national series, which will be a biopic on P.V. Narasimha Rao. So that is going to be a bilingual, multilingual series. So Telugu plus Hindi, because he's done a great work and the whole country will be able to relate to him. He's a national icon, right? So those kind of stories are also, we are being, are being picked up by our content team. So yes, we are adapting ourselves from genres, if I have to say. So we start, every OTT today gives out movies or web series. I think we are the only OTT who doesn't have a TV channel, and that's why we do not have a the non-fiction slate coming from your TV directly to OTT. So we've started that as well, because the AP Telangana audiences love non-fiction reality shows. So we've done chat shows. We've done it with Samantha Prabhu, who became national icon. We did it with her before she was popular nationally. Right, so that was a massive hit. We've done recently Unstoppable, which has become a massive hit. So chat shows have worked. We are now doing Telugu Indian Idol, which is like a Hindi show, but is now OTT exclusive. We are doing a second season on our OTT, and it is only exclusively available on our OTT. So we've actually made a buffet for the audience and are giving it out so that we can, they can stay on our platform and we are able to retain them with more entertainment. Yeah. So that's the thing that we are moving.
But I want you to share that anecdote that you shared with us on how the whole OTT channel started. Father-son conversation. Yeah.
So in fact, it's a very interesting conversation. So our owner is, Allu Arjun's father, and of course TV9 group owners as well. So this whole idea came when Allu Arjun's father came down at 1:30 in his kitchen and was, opened his fridge, and when he turned, Allu Arjun was standing behind him to get snacks for himself. And this is some 4-5 years back. So he asked, he's known as Bunny. So he asked, Bunny, what are you doing at 1:30 in the night in the kitchen? He said, I'm getting snacks for myself, Dad. I'm watching, binging a web series on Netflix. So then Allu Arjun asked his dad that, what are you doing here, at 1:30? He's saying, I'm also watching a series on Netflix. So the father was watching Fauda season 1 and the son was watching Money High season 1. And that's when it clicked the father that he's 60 plus and he's in his 30s. Both are on Netflix killing their night time. So I think this is one place which is going to be there. And that's when he decided that he needs to start a OTT platform for Telugu audience. And that's how we came into existence. And when you talk about future, I think one more thing which I forgot to tell is something that we are proud that we are now bringing our Arha OTT, not just as a OTT app, but we are launching the metaverse version of it. And we'll also have a Arha verse where you can actually get into the, the virtual space, go into the production space, see Allu Arjun creating the ad campaign for us and stand next to him with your digital avatar and watch how the whole ad campaign was made. So that's the next step that we are taking into.
Yeah, lovely behind the scenes stuff, that'll come through. Imagine. I want to bring it back, Ritesh. We ultimately are all brand and marketing people, lots of them sitting over here. So very interesting opportunities. They've shared with us how on the content side they look at, what's going to work in future. And you are also part of the process sometimes because you're identifying these opportunities that's going to work, for your clients, right? How do you guys doing it? Is the process any different from what it used to be 10 years ago?
Not really. Step one obviously is to understand objective of a brand. Step two is obviously to understand competition. Step three is, as you spoke about earlier, persona. Customer persona is primary. If you understand where the customer is, things will work best. Once we have done these three things, and then we start looking at platforms which will suit the audience and the objective we plan to achieve. So from a process point of view, things have not changed. Obviously now with the influx of digital and obviously the way he was talking about, each audience is different and they are doing not co-viewing, right? It is solo viewing happening. And I was looking at some report which talked about the new OTT audience which is joining, the median age is 35, right? So with that new age group also coming in, we cannot have same communication, same creative being run for a 50-year-old and versus a 29-year-old. We need different creatives. So emphasis on creatives will change and somehow AI will help. That piece will also come to play. And then language. Language is a big play. So once we have done the creative piece, planning piece, platform selection, right? And then results should matter. Now, the important piece is, as we always speak in marketing, right? Which 50% is working? We don't know, right? With connected TV specifically, right? And the digital OTT piece which is happening and with data which we have in our hand, I believe our planning process will change. Consolidation on planning will happen and that will help. So just to add up to that, earlier when planning used to happen, we used to have less media and less planners. And then we had more media opportunities and more planners. Now the third section or the evolution will reach when we'll have more media but less planners. Because of technology, data availability, and our planning skills have to evolve. Things have to change drastically on planning skills.
I think just to add a point here, not just the planners, I think now every media agency also has a in-house creative team as well, with which, with whom we pitch our in-show integrations or even creating a show for the brand completely, which is a AFP kind of a show, where the whole travel series or something is being done for maybe a car brand or somebody. So all of the media agencies have, added this department. So there are times in future definitely which are going to come where multiple cuts are going to happen. It will not be just a CPRP driven race that people will follow.
Just to add, see, that piece was always happening actually, right? So media agencies were doing in-film placements way back, right? And one of the worst examples is a movie which was done by Hrithik Roshan and Kareena Kapoor, where Coke and Pass was embedded in like how? Yadein. That was the movie. I think that is epitome of how integration should not be done. But yeah, that was always happening. Now the blur is actually creative agencies have a media wing, media agencies have a creative wing, digital there is separate and they're doing everything. So how will that solve? Will literally 5,000 or 10,000 plus digital companies today in India and overall I don't know how many. How will the mix come together? So we'll get to know quality of planning will matter.
I just want to say this, that I think I can just share with you how a CMO's life has changed therefore. Because earlier, you used to have this one agency, okay, who did everything. And you caught the CEO's neck if your brand didn't do well, okay? Now you have no more necks to catch except for yours because all the different pieces need to come together inside the marketing team now. So, life is very different. I want to just shift gears for a while, and I know that this year is going to be very cricket dominated. And Saurabh and I were discussing that. 2023, you're going to have, very large cricketing events, and that's going to either suck away audiences from some places or is going to benefit certain brands because they have the cricket rights. Saurabh, I want you to comment on that to say, okay, how will 2023 pan out? And it may just therefore be a very different year. In terms of viewing habits, and may not be indicative of the future to come.
Three major events that come up. One is the first time we are having the women's IPL this year, plus the men's IPL, which is actually an extended version of almost about 2 months. And then in October, November, the Cricket World Cup, this time happens to be in India. So those three events will obviously eat into a lot of brand spends that happens. Advantage actually for again from a regional targeting perspective, there are two things that are there. See, these events have a certain timeline. So the rest of the year, obviously your other, the entire, we will actually run our ads and everything in the same way that we are actually doing. These 3 months, obviously there will be a shift where, the action will move towards, and we are a cricket loving society, and that's what cricket and entertainment, that what dominates India actually. So for sure we'll see a lot of ad spends moving towards the cricketing events. But yes, one point that I see here is a lot of options are available here as well. So for example, even in cricket, and again Hotstar doesn't have the rights this year, it moves to Jio, which is now merging with Voot. So I think there we will see a spike in the Voot numbers, and subscriptions go up there, right? So there actually one option that I see which is available is the regional languages in which the content or the cricket content will be consumed. So you have options of listening to the commentary in various languages, right? And so there I think from a brand perspective, ads which can be done in those languages specific to that audience, I think that could be very, very relevant and kind of focused towards targeting a specific audience, specifically in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities is what I think. So that I think that ways we can have a very, very focused campaign. Let's say even in cricket we can go down to a micro level and kind of figure out if we can target the right audience.
And if you're a national brand, it'll be a tough choice to make. I mean, do you do like single creative, focus on main languages, or do you kind of do multiple languages, or do you do both? Yeah. But yeah, I think what is going to be critical is that a lot of budgets will go there. I am conscious of time, so I'm going to just bring the last question to all four of you, before I open out for any audience questions. And this is, starting with you, Nitin, because you're just sitting that side, okay, which is, what's your advice either to content creators, influencers, or marketeers, or media planners, given the experience that you have and the business that you're running, what would be your advice?
So I think to creators, it would be original. And that's where I think Bollywood is moving far behind and South is coming ahead. Because people now have access to every content which is being made in any corner of the country. That's why even the Korean content today is hit, right? So be original, right? That's, I think, or even if you're copying it, please copy it with originality. You can't just copy paste it. You can take the recreation rights, but you need to adapt to the local nuances of that region where you are releasing that content. So we have done a lot of recreations, but those are of course adapted to the local society, right? So that is what you need to keep that in mind. So that is to the creators. To media planners and media agencies, the only thing is we are regional OTTs. You can look at us, right? For engagement. And so I think that's the clear message, that we are the leading regional OTT. Please come to us. We are there happy to help you, serve you, and make you reach your audiences. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. Salil, over to you.
Well, the only thing I'd say here is I do a dipstick right here asking, how many of us have seen a movie in the last 10 days? And if we watched it, did you watch it on an OTT or did you watch it on a TV like channel? I don't want to name any channel. But assume if you were to watch a movie, how many of you have watched a
Raise your hand.
movie?
If
Not
you-
a theater. I'm not talking about a theater. I'm saying at home. Or if you watched a web series. Is the conversation around web series? Okay. So your question is around web series, which automatically means it's, it's an OTT. I think what we need to realize is that people are shifting their patterns of viewing. We have to be very careful of the thought that these cord cutters may not be available on a large screen to you anywhere else. I mean, when I say anywhere else, I'm saying digitally, of course, they're there on the mobile. These are digital natives, but they are pure play cord cutters. And if I were to reach out to them, I need to be in an OTT and make sure that my content is available, because he may not be watching me through a DTH or another form of streaming that may happen. I recently heard government is trying to come out with phones which will do direct. I come from linear TV, our organization is very big there. So we want to make sure that it goes every nook and corner. So we are fully focused towards saying connected devices or connected TVs, you need to be available there. And OTTs is going to be a route. So that user base that you're talking about, which he's saying is OTT, for us also, I mean, the same thing. There are guys who are going to consume news. They were talking about Geo TV, right? I mean, Geo is going to be having Geo Cinema, Geo Box, Geo OTT, whatever. Imagine they're talking about, for IPL, how many downloads are they targeting? 400 million plus. 12 languages they're going to launch. Here again, this is again what I've read, is 4K cameras being installed, so you're going to watch HD that's going to come in. And languages is there. Great opportunity to target, you have great opportunity to measure, and you have great opportunity to get to those cord cutters, which you would not have otherwise.
Thank you for that, Ritesh.
So to agency and marketeers both, I think we need to get ready to go back to basics of planning, for sure. We need to really go down to Excel sheets, look at all possible reports, and obviously technology will help. Tomorrow we will have panel, you will have tools which will give us data by audience sets for TV, even for digital outdoor, for radio which is turning digital, for obviously mobile data, all that will come in play. And there will be some common currency will get formed. It will not be CPRP, it will not be CPM, there will be something else which will happen. So we need to get ready for our future. And that will happen fast. It will be programmatic for sure. So let's get ready for that future. And within the organization, because structure, it's not just about what is happening outside. Is that what is happening outside, are we ready for it internally? So upskilling is an important piece. And there will be specialists sitting in there. It will not be a journalist game.
Yes.
One person who knows it all, that will not happen.
Yeah, true.
Right. So yeah, that's...
That, Ritesh, I can vouch for. I mean, so my podcast is on what I would call an audio OTT. You know, Avaz.com is an audio OTT according to me, and audio is not that big, obviously, you know, compared to the video. But I think the schematic of how you run a talk show on, let's say, a YouTube is very different, and what you do in terms of scripting, and I'm saying this out of personal experience, is very, very different in what you do in terms of a sheer audio. I mean, in the good old days, your radio jingle was, of course, very different from a, TV ad. And what you said here, therefore, going back to basics, willing to learn, upskill, and recognizing that, there are specialists is going to be critical in terms of rolling out, your brand campaigns. Saurabh, over to you before I open it out to audience.
So just to add to what Ritesh said, I think measurability and adaptability to what actually we are doing in terms of what is the kind of response that we're getting from that ad, and do we need to change it instantly, and how soon can we do it, will also play a large factor, because it can't be that you run an ad for like 5, 7 days, 10 days, and then you say that fine, we didn't get performance out of it, right? It's we've ended up burning the money that we wanted to. So it's that the measurability has actually now changed from that we run the campaign for a week and then we analyze what has happened. Now it's become more of real-time measurement and kind of changing instantly and kind of innovating with the issue that is happening on the spot. So I think that also will kind of pave the way we see.
I feel like I have to defend the marketeer, okay? so I think the trouble in a marketeer's life is that with certain brands and certain categories, you're allowed to run the brand spends where, you know, we don't know which 50% of it is working, but, you know, a lot of us carry the performance marketing measures which need to deliver pipeline and numbers and app downloads and, you know, whatnot. And there, 10 days is a long time. If it ain't working and delivering, it's off, you know. So I think it's also about understanding, okay, where is the money coming from? Which line, okay? Is it the brand spend or is it the performance marketing spend? With that, anybody in the audience, any questions? Yes, please.
Thank you. So it was an interesting session and discussion. I am Soumya Vilekar, co-founder of Planet Marathi OTT. So as similar as the regional OTT. I can understand the pain that you are going through. Obviously, you have been the elder brother of the OTTs because you have launched it earlier than what we did. And I could correlate everything that was going on over here, from programmatic marketing to the media buying to the media selling and all. I would just like to add few points over here. We launched as a SVOD, which is the subscription model, and then launched into the advertising-based model. So when we launched there, we partnered with Geo Ads. So that was a trial and error. I mean, you do not know what kind of ads are going to run, what kind of consumer is going to consume the ads. So it all depends on the free content, it all depends on your audience, and also on the kind of ads and the kind of presentation that we are doing. So there was obviously a combination of how we are targeting our audiences. One is where we earn the revenue through the ads, and another is how we reach the audience through the programmatic marketing. But obviously, you cannot have a single plan for anything. It is what is going to change, and it will keep on changing for the next 6 months, depending on what has happened in the last 1 year. So our content consumption, our choice of content, our choice of watching, our choice of place, everything is changing. And that is how I think the trend is. We will keep on evolving, and we'll have to keep on being on pace with whatever is going on. So I think everybody has to be hand in hand. That is what I feel.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for that comment. And I agree. I mean, I also say that that's why humans and intelligence is required, and that's how we get our salaries, because we've got to learn and do different things. I did see another hand, yes.
Okay. The question is for the gentleman from Arha. I see your non-subscription revenue responsible. So I guess that would be ads. If there is something else, please let us know. The second thing is, do you also have two separate verticals, one for ad-driven subscribers and the other subscription-driven, or how do you call it, users, right? This is one.
So we started with a subscription-based model only. We were ad-free platform, and it was a very critical, decision whether to move to ad-based or a combination model or stay as subscription model, which is when we decided that to sustain an end of day, you need to become profitable, right? You're not doing business for charity, so you need to become profitable, and to earn profit, you need to get revenues from all sources. So subscription still remains our primary source of revenue. We started non-subscriptions revenue, where we first started brand solutions, which is creating content for the brands on our platform in the native language so that they can reach out to the consumers. The second, once people were, habitual of watching these branded content, then we introduced AVOD, which is basically your ad video on demand, where we were showing certain ads to certain subscribers, free users or quarterly users or annual users. But we have not bombarded our users with 10 ads in 30 minutes. So, for us, ads is only one before you start watching the content and one like an interval in the middle, so that your experience of watching content is not disrupted very badly. So we are still maintaining that. Then, of course, beyond that, there is syndication, which is we can sell our content to any other OTT in different languages, which is again a non-subscription revenue source. Our YouTube channel is a big revenue source as well, because we have 3 million, close to 3 million subscribers of YouTube channel. So that all our promo launches and everything which happens on YouTube, which is like a marketing tool for me, right, is also a revenue source for me. So that itself is there. And now we are planning to launch impact properties where we are going to do concerts and other on-ground events and take the Arha brand to the audience, at that level as well. So that's our next strategy, and we're already planning Ahaverse, which is going to be the next one in the digital space.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
First of all, thank you, panelists. Like, this was one of the most interesting discussions of the day. And as I got more engrossed in the discussion, I came in as a brand manager trying to understand my kya karu OTT mein, and I got engrossed at a personal level. So my question would probably, and since my boss is not here as well, I would have to ask that to you. It just clicked my mind that with the abundance of content that is coming on OTT now, has the quality somewhere deteriorated, and how does that impact us? Because taking Marvel Cinematic Universe, for example, I don't consider She-Hulk to be a part of the MCU. And the OTT, the web series that have come across Marvel, frankly, is not to the level that we got to expecting from Marvel. So what kind of implication does that have? And is it true? If it is, what kind of implication does it have on marketeers?
Okay, so from content, quantity versus quality is always a question, right? We definitely look at Marvels of the world for the VFX quality that they use, but we are also not ready to accept Brahmastra, who has used a VFX, but we do not want to support that India wants to reach there. When we are a growing country, right? Our content creators are very new. They are not as old as Steven Spielberg, who have been doing, all these movies since ages, right? So we need to support them. How can we connect with our audience with the stories? I think story still is an important thing for us, when it comes to content, more than anything else. And it's a slow process of gradually reaching out there. That's the benchmark. We also will reach there. Budgets, of course, it's 80 times, right, the dollar value. When they spend and when they release a movie, they get the money. Our very few movies like KGFs and all have earned decently well globally, right? So I think once the audience will start accepting Indian movies globally, the money will come in, and our creators will be able to spend that high to make a Marvel in India itself.
Just one piece. We need to keep our personal biases out, right? So content is always subjective. You may like something. She-Hulk I liked, you didn't, right? I'm not a purist Marvel fan, right? I don't know the history. So I'm therefore saying they could be different backgrounds, right? So we need to keep the biases out. I'm a firm believer of data. Look into data and plan for your brand, and life will be fine.
I just want to comment there in terms of sheer observation. Going to the comment that you're making, saying keep the biases out. I think we are all discovering fragmentation of audiences. There is an audience for content pieces out there which are doing well, Otherwise, they're off in any case, right? I think if you look at sheer quality of production, which is a question that you asked, if you look at a lot of the comic artists, if I may call them, stand-up comedians which have come up on YouTube, the production quality is zilch, but the quality of the joke matters over there, and that's why they're drawing up the audiences that they're getting. And I think I would go with what he said, which is that look at the data. If it is doing well, then there is a certain audience, who is accepting them. They may be very different from, let's say, the image that we have in our mind of who's going to be watching it, and I think. Which one of you was giving me the Choo-Choo TV example?
Peppa Pig, where he
said
quality is not great, but they are Choo-Choo TV is one of the highest revenue channels coming from YouTube. So they get the maximum revenue.
Yeah, for
and
the children, it's a nursery rhyme channel, So I think that's what's happening on the content side. I don't think we can predict. I'm surprised myself at some of the shows that do well. I'm told it's a show that does very well, but I may not like it, and so that's important, I think, for a marketer. I also say this from a marketing perspective, don't judge your customer also. Don't judge them. They may like something, and we've got to just, live with that. Any other questions, or should we call it a day? Yes, please.
Hi. This is a question for Salil. I think I got you. Yeah. So basically, my question's very specific to news content, since you talked about news, right? So how do you sort of identify the OTT or add value for news? Because you can't really curate your content all that differently, because news is news. You can't make it suddenly as per people like to see it. So if you could just talk a little bit about the OTT or add value of news specifically. And you did mention that you don't place ad on the connected devices feed
Correct.
that you have.
Well.
So how do you then sell yourself to advertisers?
No, I didn't say we don't do ads. What we said is that India Today Group has come out with something called a connected device feed. This connected device feed is available whether you are there on Apple TV, if you want to use that, or your Android Play, Fire TV Stick. Use any of these devices, we are available. Even Smart TV, we are directly available. What we've done is that what's coming out of the studio, when you go into an ad break, your ad, the way you do advertisement on linear TV is a little different to what we have now worked on connected TV. Because in connected TV, I can't give you a 6-minute or an 8-minute ad after ad after ad. So what we've done is we filled it with content which is relevant for the day. It could be the headline from the afternoon. It could be, and because this is again digitally being inserted, so technically if you look at my weather plate or you look at a template we would have created for the gold rate, we'll tell you what is the gold rate for now. Or when I was doing cryptocurrency, we used to give you a cryptocurrency rate of an exchange which was like 10 minutes before on TV. So what we did is we did innovate over there, filled it with content, and you would have a short break. You'll have your FCT. So today what happens is we take an FCT price where you get a 30-second ad or an L band, which is purely available here, not on TV. So we do that. Then you say, what is it that I bring to the OTT? Very valid point, why should an OTT also look at news? I mean, mostly they're looking at entertainment. But each OTT has come out with various categories, entertainment, sports. But news is something that constantly keeps getting updated. So what we see is, what me as a news channel brings is the ability for somebody to come back to you again and again and again. You were here, we heard some news. Everybody should log on to their phones and see Aaj Tak and say, okay, what is the latest or what is the latest update? Whether it's a good event, whether it's has somebody won the match? You had the Turkey earthquake. Everybody wants to get, the first thing you want to do is get up, and that's what we were talking within our group, that okay, now it's convenience, where is it available? And like I said, if you're viewing an OTT app, I don't want you to get out. If Aaj Tak is available, I'm more than happy, or India Today is available, we are more than happy for you to view, and I bring in that repeat user to the OTT again and again. And then obviously you have a pre-roll, which he mentioned before. You take a paid version, then you don't get the pre-roll on various platforms. So then there is other ways of revenue opportunity there. Did I answer your question?
Thank you for that. I think I just saw one last hand. That's be the last question for the day. Yeah?
Just one quick one, given most of we are talking about OTT, right? We heard many numbers from you guys, average age, the kind of content that different age group people are looking at, right? Obviously, most of the discussions around here, right? Any person gets into a business, you need to have a healthy margins, right? At the end of the day, given the kind of variety of content that everybody has today. As per you guys, looking at the larger, broader trend after 5 years, right? What should OTT platform come up with, right? So, where should be your ARPU going, a kind of a number increasing? What should be your target eventually, right? At the end of the day, what we are watching today, possibly, the kind of revenues that you have might get stagnant. What's the next stage, where you should take a leap, and that should be your TG going forward?
Where do you work, by the way?
I work for Bajaj, but I was associated with Star earlier. I heard somebody from Planet Marathi. I come from that region.
Okay.
And I guess there is a regional person sitting out over there as well.
Yeah. You want to answer that question, Nitin? Yeah, Ritesh.
Just for fun's sake in between, have you seen Friends?
On and off, yeah.
So there's a character called Ross.
Yeah.
One of the famous dialogue of Ross is pivot. Pivot.
Yeah.
Pivot.
I think that answers all, and I made that statement. End of day, every business has to be profitable, right? So we need to earn money. So whatever content we are creating, the ARPU has to be such that it is, it is covering the cost of the content, covering the cost of marketing the content, covering the cost of acquiring a new customer as well. So once that we have achieved, we'll be the break even will happen and the profits will come. Otherwise, we'll have to look out for jobs.
Okay. And with that, thank you very much. Thank you all the panelists, and thank you for the audience questions.